Aloha! This is Lahaina Lee weighing in on the proposed short-term rental legislation here on Maui. But first, if you've watched any of the videos we've put out in the last, decade and a half, I guess, you probably noticed that we almost always start and end with an aloha. Well, there's a reason for that. After all, we're in the aloha state, and some of us are striving, but not necessarily achieving, the state of aloha. I'm going to try to maintain some aloha here. But back to short-term rentals. Maybe the first thing we should do is ask a question. What is the goal? If you're watching this, you've probably been following the news and opinions since back the beginning of May when the mayor first announced his intention. Since then, there's been plenty of news and plenty of opinions. But in all that, it seems like we forgot what the original goal was. After the Maui wildfire, it seemed everyone had the same goal. Help the survivors to find safety and shelter and work together to get people back on their feet and back home. Instead, we've somehow found a way to miss this potentially unifying opportunity that was born out of a horrible, deadly disaster and turn it into a divisive mess that drives a wedge into this community that most of us want to rebuild, and it threatens thousands of jobs and potentially even the solvency of the greatest island in the world. It seems the goal of creating affordable, dignified housing got somehow politically twisted into the opportunity to take property rights from one group of people without even coming close to meeting the needs of the people who so desperately want and need dignified, affordable housing. Not to belabor the facts of the situation, but for context, the proposal from the mayor is to roll back the law and the right of owners whose property is on the so-called Minatoya list to rent their condos short-term. The logic being that we have a lot of West Side families and individuals who need housing, and there are a lot of West Side short-term rental properties that could be providing housing to those families instead of tourists. The logic is flawed for a number of reasons, starting with the mayor's statement that all of these properties were originally built for workforce housing. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Kapalua Bay Villas was not built for workforce housing. Additionally, if anyone, any contractor, any company, any government agency would have built and intended these condos to be for workforce housing, why would they build 50% of the residences as studios and one-bedroom units with only one parking space and little to no storage? Obviously, no one would do that. And if our goal, notice I said our goal, is dignified, affordable housing, these properties don't fit the definition. Sure, some of them would be suitable for a single person or a couple or maybe even a small family. But affordable? Let's do the numbers. At the current average asking price for a Minatoya West Side condo at over $1.2 million, an average maintenance fee of over $1,500 per month, plus utilities, plus property taxes, and in some cases land leases, these are not affordable housing. So if the goal is dignified, affordable housing, why not focus on that? Pointing the finger at people who own short-term rentals and trying to repeal that right does not accomplish the goal. In fact, it more than likely does the extreme opposite, as it would have an overwhelmingly negative, perhaps devastating impact on the Maui economy. Now, while that might seem obvious, rather than speculate, it might be better to turn to research by arguably the most respected economist here in Hawaii, Paul Brubaker. In his 2022 report, Economic Impacts of Removing Units in Apartment-Zoned Areas of Maui County from Short-Term Rental Use, Brubaker had these insights. According to Brubaker, the proposed action would eliminate approximately one-third of the short-term rentals here on Maui that are currently intended for visitor use. The loss of those visitors would mean $1.67 billion less coming into the Maui economy. The report goes on to conclude that the total economic output of Maui would decrease by 2.74 billion, with a ripple effect to the other islands resulting in an overall decline to the state of Hawaii of $3.25 billion. And what about jobs? Brubaker's report concludes that it would cost the county of Maui over 14,000 jobs. Considering that the county only has a population of about 150,000, and a lot of those are either children or retired folks, that would be another devastating impact on our county. And who would lose their jobs? You don't need a crystal ball to know that a lot of the people losing their jobs are exactly the ones who could benefit from affordable housing. Additionally, there are a lot of small businesses and self-employed people here on Maui who would suffer the brunt of shutting down those short-term rentals and would likely have to shut down their own businesses. And while Brubaker calculated some of the direct and indirect costs, he didn't calculate the millions of dollars that it will likely cost our county to defend the potential lawsuits that the stakeholders of the pro-STR camp are preparing to launch if the law passes. It seems likely that the cost to taxpayers will be millions and millions of dollars and go on for years. And it doesn't address the objective. It just takes more dollars and, just as importantly, focus away from achieving an achievable goal. So, how could we achieve that goal? First, achieving dignified, affordable housing needs to be an actual goal. Who from any political party or any walk of life would not support that goal? Now, I could go into a lot of what the county could do and a lot of what they could stop doing in order to eliminate existing obstacles and help build housing, but then I'd start to sound like a politician. But that's not my aim. More than anything, I want Lahaina back. We can get there, but we need a clear, united vision instead of chaos and leaders instead of politics as usual. Remember, the goal is dignified housing and, why not, peace and prosperity for all. From not Lahaina, this is Lahaina Lee wishing you aloha.